Cafe, where ideas take shape, thought find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest, functional gut health consultant and family nurse practitioner, none other than Miss Lola MacLean. Welcome, Miss Lola and After Cafe. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Yeah, so my name is Lola. I am a functional health consultant and family nurse practitioner, and I work with women who have had long-standing digestive issues to finally get to the root cause and actually heal those digestive issues.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Lola. And today let's talk about why irritable bowel syndrome is not the real problem, getting the root of digestive issues. Let's start with the bold claim why IBS is not the real problem. If irritable bowel syndrome is a collective of symptoms, what is the real problem it's signaling?
Yeah. So one of my big things is that IBS or irritable bowel syndrome is really a BS diagnosis in the sense of IBS is a label, right? It's that collection of symptoms that occur together, but doesn't actually tell you what's going on or why that's going on. And when we start to ask the question, why is this change in our bowel pattern, or why is this bloating, or why is this abdominal pain, or constipation, or diarrhea showing up in this unique person, in their unique life circumstances, in their unique environment? Why is that happening, right? When we start to ask those questions, that's how we start to get to the root cause of what's going on.
Interesting, Ms. Lola. The conventional diagnosis of IBS is often one of the exclusion,
Mhm.
ruling out things like Crohn's or celiac. Why is the diagnostic label often dead end for the patients? And how should we think about instead?
I think a lot of that comes from just the way that in conventional or allopathic medicine, we're really trained, right? We're trained to find acute issues, to find life-threatening like disorders and diseases. And so when you're going down the road of, getting kind of an IBS diagnosis, you're ruling out those inflammatory bowel diseases, cancers, things that can be very damaging and very life-threatening. But then that doesn't show up. So now you have this label, this irritable bowel syndrome, and then it's, would you like some fiber? Do you need a laxative? Do you want to see a nutritionist and get a little bit of a diet change? And none of that works. And then people feel hopeless, right? Because they're trying these things, but nothing is actually happening. And so, again, kind of going back to that why is this happening? There's a lot of different reasons that constipation, diarrhea, these irritable bowel syndrome symptoms can be happening, right? And often it's things like impaired digestion, so lower stomach acid, poor bile flow, poor pancreatic enzyme
I
release.
think
It can sorry, go ahead. Daniel? So some of the other reasons too are things like
everybody
a
need to please go ahead.
oh,
Go ahead.
sorry. Some of the other reasons are things like impaired gut brain regulation, right? So the communication between what's going on with our gut and our brain is a little bit disconnected. There's also things like dysbiosis, so these overgrowths or even like depletions of good bacteria, or overgrowths of kind of more opportunistic or inflammatory bacteria. There's issues as far as the actual like motility process, so how things are moving through our body. And then things like hormonal shifts and even like thyroid can be a big impact with our colon and our gut, and these show up as these IBS symptoms.
Mm. So, Ms. Lola,
Mhm.
you likely seen patients who have seen told it's just a stress or it's just all in your head. How does
Mhm.
this dismissal oversimplify the complex gut-brain immune axis the prevent true healing?
Yeah, that is I think that's the saddest thing that anybody can be told. I was told that, a while ago when I kinda had a huge flare up of my IBS, was like, "This is a lot of stress, and you need to handle it better. Here's a medication to help you with that stress that will also help your IBS." And that's when I was like, "Absolutely not." I know how this goes. I've seen this play out in practice so many times. I'm not doing this, and so that made me shift into functional medicine, but that just, like, it's all in your head is something that I wish I could scream for everybody. It's just like, "That is not true. It is not all in your head." Like, definitely, there's so much going on within our gut, within the microbiome, with our digestive processes that are creating this imbalance that also kind of contribute to things like anxiety, depression, some of these mood disorders that then can make those IBS symptoms worse, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
So let's unpack the major root cause categories beyond just food intolerance. How do these interconnected factors typically play a role?
So I think just going back to that big one, that stress one, right? So when we are kind of in this like go, go, go mode, we're high achieving or we've got a lot on our plate, we're in this like episode of overwhelm, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are in this like more sympathetic dominant state. So that's what people will call that fight, flight, freeze mode, right? And when we're in that state, our body is not made to be digesting. So we literally kind of like shut off digestion. So our stomach acid decreases, our actual like enzyme output decreases, our motility slows down. And so then that kind of compounds, right? We've got this lower stomach acid. So now we're not absorbing a lot of the things that we put in. We're not absorbing our zinc, our magnesium, our iron, our B vitamins, which can create a whole host of issues just globally because we need all of those things for good, you know, neurotransmitter production, for good energy levels, just for our body to function. But then also, when we have that lower stomach acid, we're not necessarily killing off or eliminating a lot of different microbes that get into our system. And so they start to travel down. And then, when you've got that slower motility because of that stress, now you've got just stuff sitting there for a long time, longer than it should. And so now these microbes that are in your gut have all this extra time to feed on the food that's there for them. So they feed and they ferment. So they produce a lot of gas, which makes you bloated and uncomfortable. And some of those bacteria produce gases that even tell your colon to slow down more. So now it's just like super slow and super bloated and super uncomfortable, and that's how a lot of it can get interconnected, right? And then it's sending signals to your brain that you're just like inflamed and uncomfortable, so now you're feeling anxious and unhappy, and it just keeps going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And let's talk about the nervous system deregulation. How can history of trauma, chronic stress, or anxiety literally change digestive function and pain perception?
Mhm. So, like I was saying just a few minutes ago, right? Like when we're in that stress response, we're not made to be digesting. So everything kind of shuts off. But also, there's a lot the I guess it's the field of somatics really, but there's a lot of stored emotions and stored intelligence in our body, right? And so when we've had a history of like abuse or trauma or things that way, and even if it's not like a very like front and center happening now kind of a thing, something that happened a long time ago, we can still store that in our bodies, right? So these sensations that are moving through us, we will kind of try and escape from, right? And a lot of times when those sensations start to pop up, it will trigger like a memory, or it will start to trigger that sensation of that stress again. And so it shuts off digestion completely. And going back to that, lowering that stomach acid, creating that dysbiosis, it just creates that inflammatory environment where everything does not go well.
Well, how do you approach, Miss Lola, the chicken or the egg dilemma with the patients? For example, did anxiety cause the gut issues, or
Mhm.
did the years of unexplained gut pain create the anxiety?
Yeah, that chicken and the egg, right? So which one
Mm-hmm.
comes first? And that is always something that's really hard to unravel and is unique for every person, honestly. But a lot of it goes into that individual, right? It's different for everybody. And there will be moments where, okay, maybe, yeah, there is that dysbiosis that's present and definitely compounding the situation and making things worse. But that hyper focus on, oh my gosh, I'm feeling bloated. Oh my gosh, there's so much gas. Oh my gosh, I feel so much pressure. I can't breathe. Creating this panic attack. That panic part can be making those worse. So it is very interrelated. And I don't think there's a separation of the two, right? You have to work on both of them together at the same time for there to be a good resolution of that. Like really trusting what your body is saying and listening to it, and also working on the actual physical level of changing the environment of your gut.
What is the role of a hidden infections, and why are they often missed in standard testing, Miss Lola?
What kind of infections?
Infections like parasites or
Oh,
certain
hidden
bacterial
infections.
outgrowth,
Mhm, mhm.
why are
So,
they so often missed?
yeah, definitely in conventional medicine, there is a different way of testing. So, when you see the gastroenterologist or your primary care provider, the different tests that they will run are usually things like a ova and parasites test, or a just general pathogens test. So they're looking for like really bad, again, that acute, life threatening kind of bacteria and parasites. But when we use functional testing, so it's a little bit of a different way that we look at the actual stool, they're also looking for the good guys that are growing, right? So do we have enough of those good guys? Do we have too many of what we call opportunistic bacteria? So those are things that should be there normally. We're not looking at them as pathogens or bad guys. They should be there, but they can get overgrown. They're kind of like bullies on a playground, right? They're there, but we don't want too many of them. Um, Also, with the functional testing, they look at different digestive patterns as far as like how is your pancreatic enzymes doing? How is your fat being digested? Are there patterns of lower stomach acid? Is there inflammation going on? Is there, different reactions to foods that we have? So it's a lot more in depth than what is traditionally done in allopathic or conventional medicine. And of course, that also comes with a whole different caveat of like insurance coverage and things that way too.
Interesting, Miss Lola. If someone has been given an IBS label, what are the first most informative functional tests you would recommend to start looking for the root causes?
If you have an IBS label, I would definitely recommend pursuing a functional comprehensive stool test. And whether that's something like a GI map or a gut zoomer, or, different providers will order different things just based on what they're comfortable with. But definitely doing a comprehensive functional stool test, because that gives you a global picture of what's going on and in so much more detail than what you will get traditionally. The other big thing too with IBS is a good chunk of IBS is often related to small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. So if people are having a lot of SIBO type symptoms, or if their gastroenterologist is comfortable testing them for SIBO, I would definitely recommend starting there as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So the standard law of FODMA, a map or food
Mhm.
map diet, is a powerful tool for symptom relief. Why can relying on it long term sometimes hinder rather than help root causes healing?
Yeah, so that low FODMAP diet is definitely one that gets thrown around a lot and can be very helpful for relieving that bloating, for kind of helping to regulate digestion again. But with the low FODMAP diet, what you're doing is you're taking out these categories of foods that are easily fermented by different bacteria in your gut. So that creates that gas and that bloating. So you take out those food groups. And when we start to restrict a lot of different food from our diet long term, so like greater than 3 or 6, 9 months, you end up actually restricting the diversity of microbes in your digestive tract too. And that lack of diversity can over time create more issues down the road, right? Because that can create more inflammation, that can create more opportunities for these other microbes to overgrow. You really need a good diversity. And the only way that you get that diversity is by eating a diverse diet.
Yes, diverse diet. We need that,
Yeah.
people. And healing the gut is lining. Oh, yes, the gut lining is a key concept. What does the
Yeah.
process actually involve beyond just removing irritants? What nutrients and practices support true repair, Miss
Mhm.
Lola?
That's a really good question too, right? Because that's a not it's not newer, but that idea of enhanced intestinal permeability or leaky gut definitely has grown in popularity over the past decade. And so that like when we think about leaky gut or that enhanced intestinal permeability, it's really kind of bringing our cells back together. It's making sure that mucus layer is nice and thick and healthy. And in order to do that, we have to have the good microbes. So we need to be eating a good amount of fiber every day. So that's a easy one to do for a lot of people. A lot of times it's using mucilaginous herbs, so things like aloe or slippery elm or marshmallow root to kind of help rebuild that as well, you know. And then a lot of people are really big on bone broth because of the L-glutamate in it. That can be really beneficial. For some people, it can create more anxiety. So it's kind of like a um, unique to you situation. And then the other big thing too is vitamin D. So a lot of times people are pretty, especially where we are, you know, like Vancouver, Oregon, don't get a lot of sunshine for a good chunk of the year. And so a lot of people are vitamin D deficient, and that we need that vitamin D to really help with our intestinal wall too.
Yes, people, we need vitamin
We do.
D.
We
Yeah.
really do.
Yes. So, Miss Lola, to wrap up our discussion for today, if you could get everyone with an IBS diagnosis to understand one fundamental truth about their condition, what would it be?
It would be that it is not a true diagnosis, right? It's a label, and having that IBS label does not imply hopelessness, right? Like you can actually heal this. It can get better. You just need to find the right tools.
Yes, find the right tool, people. So, Miss Lola, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so I am easily found on Instagram. I'm kind of in the middle of putting together a group program starting, I think, in February. Still in the thought process of that, but that would be the next step for people.
Yes, definitely. And one more question, Ms. Lola.
Mhm.
Looking at the future of gastroenterology, do you see that shift towards this more holistic, system based model becoming mainstream?
I really do. There is hope, I think, because, a while ago, SIBO wasn't something that gastroenterologists believed in or would test for, and now a lot of them are. So I think this is going to start catching on, hopefully, over the next decade or so.
Hoping for the best,
Yes.
for sure. So, for the person who is overwhelmed and does not know where to start, what is the single most impactful place to begin? Is it diet, stress management, or testing?
So definitely, I would start with stress management and diet. And if that's not helping, then definitely go for comprehensive testing. Basics
Yes,
first.
so
Basics
Miss,
first.
yes, so Miss Lola, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Monica people, see you soon.